looks brilliant, give me more of this. I'm out of control, about to blow, and I've been caught in the undertow. So toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. Yeah, you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy, but the light has got me hypnotized. You've got me hypnotized. Get you out of my hand again. Is it wrong? Is it right? It's like I've won my final war without a fight. I'm out of control, about to blow. I've been caught in the undertow. Toxic, but I can't get enough. You bury me, bury me. I know you bury me, bury me. You've got me hypnotized. Push me out of myself. You've got me hypnotized. I can see, I can hear, going crazy.
Never gonna stop, never gonna change, never gonna do the things you say. Run my own way to get there. Fools are calling that the I seem to care. In the air, no more crowd, just the opposite kind of two clouds. So tell me this time is coming, I'm sick of all your lies. Why don't you try to be wise? Now that I need you anyway. I never wanted to be alive, just to feel like I'm fading. And though my heart breaks, I'll beat it down. I've crossed the line just to tell you, don't lead the way, don't leave the same. Then I turn with a just play in the rain. I feel like I'm fading. I am in misery.
Everyone is watching me when I'm coming around. They all are judging me when I'm lying on the ground. I've got no shelter, I've got no escape. My life is a prison and I can't run away. I feel it in my bones, I'm losing it all. Stuck in my head, I am in misery. Deep inside myself, all I get, my only family. Stuck in the grave, can someone rescue me? I'm burning alive, I got it, I am in
Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the post-Vengeance Day episode of Taking Over. It's 8:45 on the East Coast. It's a bit early to be doing a podcast, I'll be honest.
Right? It feels like it should be 10, but it's not.
I don't know how I feel about this. I don't know how I feel about my NXT being done at 8:45 in the evening.
Yeah.
Like, I'm
definitely not used
supposed to
that.
be happy. I'm supposed to be happy that I don't spend my whole night watching it and being up late talking about it. But, like, it's Saturday night. Like, what do I do now? I guess I'm going to have to play Civ 7 for the next 3 or 4 hours.
Yeah, it definitely feels weird.
Oh, I'm running a lap. You might not be running a lap out there on fucking in that snow and ice that's coming down for us. There you go. 85% spot on. There you go. To be honest, there were a couple of places that this could go, but overall, this was probably a really predictable show for most people. I think you and Santi did a really good job of hitting the nail on the head for pretty much everything.
I have one. I think that was wrong, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, everybody but me got Eddie Thorpe beating Trick Williams wrong.
No, I had picked Trick anyway. I wasn't expecting Eddy to win it, but that's the only one I had.
Yeah, so it's definitely, and again, no, I'm just
Don't worry about it. We're gonna continue on.
Keep the comments to NXT stuff because no, sorry, just no. I don't want this to sound the wrong way, but I don't care about all the Joshi wrestlers who are under contract elsewhere. I don't. I just don't. We had Saray before, and she didn't do a whole hell of a lot of anything here before. So why should we have more? It's not. I mean, to be honest, other wrestling companies have a ton of talent on their roster too. They just don't understand that you can have more than one women's match on a show.
Yes. Well, we're gonna start with the
more than
women's
two.
match. I like how we started and we ended with ladies. Yes.
We did. We started with the women. We ended with the women. The women were the only surprises of the night for a lot of things.
Yeah, pretty much.
So I guess we'll start where NXT started in the very beginning of the show. Stephanie Vaquer is the new Women's North American Champion. La Primera is now number 1 in that division. It was a good match. Yeah. So Fallon Henley has this really good, ugly wrestling style. Nothing she does is like clear cut, crystal clear the way you would teach it. But for some reason with her, it just kind of works. Her and Stephanie had relatively good chemistry tonight. It does take Terrible Toxic down about 6 notches to have Stephanie basically single-handedly take out the entire group.
That's true.
However, it clears the way for future storytelling matches. We had Kalani Jordan, Jada Parker, and Carmen Petrovic all sitting at ringside to watch this match. There's a lot to like about this match, and Stephanie coming out on top opens this division up. But again, we go back to the same thing we've been saying for a while here. With Giulia and Stephanie at the top of these divisions, there's not a lot of upward momentum for some of these women on the bottom of them. I still think that's a problem, but it's a good problem to have.
It just, I feel like I was very torn about it, like I mentioned in the previous show, because I do understand that point, because it just feels like for at least for quite a little bit of time, you're definitely going to feel like whoever goes against either one of them is going to lose their match. But at the same time, the match itself is going to be great. When you watch it, it's going to be entertaining. It's going to be fun. And I feel like going against people like Giulia and Stephanie is definitely going to help these ladies grow. But it's just going to become a little bit predictable for the next couple months for us. I think that's the only downfall of this. Unless I decide, like Santi was saying in our show, maybe do like a double champion sort of thing. And then, go on from there and do something different. Who knows? Or maybe have Stephanie lose the championship and have her go against Giulia, perhaps. But I feel like for a little bit, if with both of them remaining as champions, I feel like it'll take some time. And that will be predictable with the winner of the match itself. But again, it's going to make for some fun, entertaining matches along the way, though.
Yeah, I agree. It's just... Certified. Hi, Ophelia. I'll see you tomorrow.
Moi?
No, I think she's talking about me.
I
am indeed a certifiable hater.
Yes.
Yes, I understand that Stephanie can work with everybody, but not just because Stephanie's talented enough to make everybody look good, including Cora Jade, doesn't mean that everybody has the right set of chemistry. How many times have we talked about how good Kalani Jordan is in that ring? But every time Kalani Jordan wrestles Cora Jade, it's an absolute train fucking wreck of a match because there's just zero chemistry. Even the best of the best, every now and then, there's just that one guy they can't work with, that they can't make it work with. I was happy to see that Stephanie and Fallon had a really good match. This was a killer opener. I thought setting up Stephanie's offense is good. I thought that all the things Fallon did was good. I think Jacy Jayne is a problem. For a multitude of reasons, there's a Jacy Jayne problem in not only this group, but in WWE, period. I don't know what to do with her. She's not good enough all around to be on her own. But every time you pair her with people, she disappears into the background. Even though she's front and center with all of her facial emotions. Like tonight, I noticed every face that Jacy Jayne made. But she's not important to the group. And it's like that with everything. When she was in Toxic Attraction, she was the third most important piece of that group. Now that she's got Fallon and Jazmyn, Fallon's the best wrestler. Jazmyn has the biggest upside. And Jacy Jayne's just stuck in the middle. I don't know what to do with her, but I want to see more from her. Because she's not a bad wrestler. She cuts a good promo. But for some reason, every time you put her with people, she disappeared in the background in Chase U. Do you know how bad things have to be for you to disappear in Chase U?
It goes back to that point that I've had from the get-go. I feel like even with Wendy leaving, they should have been broken up Toxic Attraction. I feel like Gigi, yeah, she's doing fine with Chemical X, but at the same time, it just feels like her and Gigi, they will always put them in groups instead of leaving them as they were together, because they were fine together. And I feel like even their feud wasn't even the best thing in the world, and you could just, if I could erase that from history and keep them together instead, I would have done that in that timeline, if possible. And I feel especially around that time when they were teaming up still, they could have been great in the main roster together. They could have been, and kind of like that, taking turns in the women's tag team division as well. They could have been in early matches on the main roster as well. They could have been in the Rumble, for crying out loud, as well. You never know at this point. And I feel like them being in Toxic Attraction definitely put them in a good spot. And they just don't know what to do with either one of them, because it also happens with Gigi. You see her, they never leave her alone for too long, and they always put her in a group somehow. And it's like, the problem would have been solved. They just let them together, and then this would have been different. And I feel like they were fine together. They really had a lot of chemistry as a team, even with the people they were going against. So there was nothing, there was no reason for them to really break up. They could have been like, oh, we got rid of the Mandy problem. We don't need a leader anyway. We could just, be ourselves together because we're already friends. And that would have been fine. And I feel like that at this point, they're trying to find ways to put her on screen, and that's the way they can think of, unfortunately. But I feel like she is talented. I feel like she has charisma, and I feel like the only thing will be is you had to give her the opportunity to shine. And I feel like Toxic Attraction would have been that moment to let her shine. But then now you have to find another way to do it, since you can't really go back at this point. But again, it's I like having her here, and I feel like her facial expression is something that really stands out. Her character really stands out, as well as the rock star of NXT. And her being here, the only thing I feel like with this particular group versus Chemical X, for example, it just feels like they don't belong together. Because if I put them together, I wouldn't think of Fallon, Jazmyn, and Jacy as a group the way that Chemical X fits together. And I think that's the only thing that it's kind of awkward in that aspect. And it just seems like we're going to put you together for a moment until we figure something out. And I feel like if I see them putting Jacy versus Fallon down the line, I could see that happening based on the friction they had not too long ago. But then again, that would be kind of almost copy and pasting what she did with Gigi as well. So I don't know if I would do that again. So I feel like it's definitely kind of a weird transition period for her in that aspect of it. But overall, I enjoy the match, and I feel like they'd have fun. I feel like Fallon was selling a lot more than usual with Stephanie here as well. Even with Fallon losing, she looked great in this match. And I love when you are able to say that in a performance, that even when you're losing, the fact that you look great while performing, I feel like that really makes the match and the character really stand out. And I feel like the fact that since the little graphic came up for her entrance, you could see the people cheering for Stephanie there. And I was like, the way she has the crowd so attached to her already in so little time, the fact that we're cheering on for her and chanting stuff for Fallon somehow, I feel like that made me already think of like in so little time, and even with the language barrier, she has already grown for the a crowd to like her, and that's pretty fun. And again, it's like I love the takedowns they have with each other. The first couple minutes that they can take each other down, they have stalemates as well. And the fact that at one point Stephanie's just staring at Fatal Influence as she kicks Fallon, and like kind of like mocking them in a way from inside the ring there as well. And how she was going for the arm drag, but then Fallon turned into the arm bar in the middle of the ring. Like that looked pretty fun to watch as well. But again, I feel like they had really good chemistry. And if we do get a rematch, probably the next time they face each other, I feel like that will be a good fun match as well. And I feel like with Stephanie, again, we're gonna get the same type of match that we got with Fallon today. We're gonna have a lot of fun matches helping people grow, and that's what I can see from Stephanie's reign now moving on.
Yeah. Just to get into this before we get into more of the match itself, just get some traction to get something happen. She just keeps getting stuck. Yeah, it's tough for her because, like I said, it just feels like she's always the least entertaining part of whatever they're doing, and it's just I feel bad for her because it's a Jacy problem, but it's not her problem. Yeah, the last 2 minutes made Stephanie look like an absolute killer. Bobby's here, the Ogre Lord. Just got back from seeing Cat 4. Can't wait to see your thoughts in the comments tomorrow during Marvel Talk. Jose Gonzalez, the women bookending the show was the right call. Really a great night overall. Also, hi. And if you haven't, make sure you go back after this show and go watch the Mother Talking post show where they had a special guest today. And you can go ahead and see all of that in the RuPaul's Drag Race post show that we have here every Saturday afternoon with Jose and Auntie Collins. And any friends that they choose to bring along, we always enjoy. Well, we move on from that to, well, something a little less interesting. Yes, something, no. Like, okay, this match was fantastic, but the ending made me sad. But let's let Astrid talk about her boys for a little bit longer.
It was a fun match, though. I really did like the aspect that even though I love and I'm cheering on, and I picked Axiom as my winners for this match, the fact that they made me doubt myself so many times during this match is the fun part of this, because there were so many aspects that I went, oh no, there's a 3 count, oh no, it's not, and I'm like, no, it's not, what's happening, no, it's not. But Inamura, he's so fun. And I wish we would have seen a little bit more of him like this before the show. But at the same time, watching him here felt special because it's the first time we really get like a lengthy match from him like this. And we get the spotlight on him because even though Josh was there, he got a lot of the spotlight there here too. And it was just fun to watch him. I was like, I like how the double team moves they have with each other, and even him trying to stop the guys, because at one point he had Axiom in front of him and then Nathan jumps on his back to take him down, and he's taken down for like a moment there too, but then he powers back up and takes them both down. I was like, he looks so great while doing this. And it's the irony how he fits so well in this match and teaming up with Josh, because even though it's the first like really long match that we get out of them, they fit together so well. It's scary how like it almost feels like it's the first time they're teaming up, but it's not at the same time. And it just feels weird to think about it that way. But they work so well together. It was so impressive. And I love how we had, especially towards the end when Axiom is doing the Spanish fly to him, and you get Nathan on the other side trying to do his Phoenix splash from the other corner, and they look very far, but then Josh is right there about to grab him and take him down for that moment there too. But the back and forth they had here, they made me doubt myself a few times. I was just like, I'm scared. But at the end, my boy's still keeping the championship, so I'm very happy.
Astrid watches all Naxia matches like she's Ricky Starks.
Yes.
No, these guys are just like at the tables. Just say, you took the words out of my mouth. Fraxium on just another level. They can't have badge matches even if they try. Like, Inamura was the star of this match in a match full of 4 guys who showed up and showed out. Like, Nathan and Axiom, they had a great match, but this wasn't something unusual. Like, they didn't do anything unusual. They didn't do anything special. They just did the Nathan and Axiom thing. And these guys just fit so well into that script. The backflip into the powerbomb was fantastic. The choke slam onto Inamura's knee was brutal. The choke slam from the very top rope into Axiom as he's standing there waiting to catch them. It's just like, what the fuck is going on here? Oh, I love this. And then, as if the match isn't cool enough, everything happens. We then get the debut of, as I'm calling them now, the group. They are the group. The group that gave us this. And this is the best image I can get of them.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we can clarify, this is Dion Lennox, Mr. Readerman, Shaquan Sugars, who's coming off of an injury, Cutler James, who's making his NXT television debut, and Osiris Griffin, who is also making his NXT debut. And I'm sad that I lost Ricky Starks' new name being Osiris Griffin in the pool, because I thought that would have been a great new name for Ricky Starks just to fuck with people.
No.
I don't get the group. I don't know what they want. I don't know what they're going to do, especially when they pop up again later, because not one of these men belong in the other portion of where they interrupted. I understand this one. 4 guys, inevitably 2 of them can be tag team champions. That makes sense. We'll leave the other part later, but none of them belong in that discussion. Not even Mr. Readerman himself.
Mr. Reader.
Man can't even fucking win a match, and now he thinks he can lead a faction.
It just, the other thing I don't like about this is just, it feels like a little bit of Retribution, but a little bit of the Shield mixed up at the same time. Because
just a little?
more than, obviously the mask it gives you the clue of like, that's very similar. The entrance, it was very Shield-like as well. But then the way there's something about them that reminds me of Retribution as well. But I feel like it would have been, I don't want to say better, but I feel like it would have been slightly different if they maybe would have posted what the name of the group is. And it's like, again, it's like, I did feel the same way of like, yeah, they belong in this particular aspect of the show. And then when they come up later after Oba, I went, why are you coming after him? But that, it just felt like it was better just keeping them there as in the tag team part of it and just seeing what happens later on. But then even here, when they do come up and attack everybody in the ring after they all shake hands, people are chanting, "Who are you? Who are you?" Because the only person they recognize is Dion Lennox. But I was like, imagine how terrible it is that people are not even focusing on the group, but just focusing on who the heck are you at this point? Because Dion is the only one you recognize from the whole group. And I was like, that's not great either.
The question is, do you think anybody in the NXT universe understood that was Dion Lennox?
Maybe not. Maybe the second time around they did. But even at that moment, it's like, if you're screaming, "Who are you?" and that's the focus of what people take from this whole segment, that's not good.
No, that's not good at all. That's not good at all. And by the way, I just want to say, he's been in here. We're going to bring up a new comment from him. If you're in the group, in the chat, and you don't know who Get the Tables is, all of your WWE watch-alongs, you need to be following these guys. They do fantastic watch-alongs for all things WWE. I think they even do some AEW watch-alongs, if I remember correctly. I haven't tuned in for any of those. But if all your watch-along needs, make sure you follow Tony and Get the Tables. Him and Diamond Dave do fantastic work over there. Good friends of the channel. We love when they stop by here and talk to us. We don't know a lot about Shaquan Sugars. He was here for a brief time before and then got hurt. I thought he was in a tag team at one point. I'll be honest. I honestly thought he was part of the TNT tag team for a long time because I mistook him for Tyson.
I'm sorry, but it sounds funny when you read it this way. Everybody's high on sugars. I can't.
Well, everybody's definitely high on sugar today because it is the day after Valentine's Day, and we've all got a lot of sugar. I know. I had my last fun post Valentine's Day. Let's go to Walmart and buy all the cheap candy thing. So we'll have to wait and see what goes on with the group because I don't know. This could be bad. It could be good.
Yeah.
These guys look like badasses. And all we know is that Dion can kind of sort of wrestle. So what are the other three got that we can talk about? Because we then move on to a promo from Stax. Stax is talking to people, and he is, laying out what happened with Tony D'Angelo last week. He said that Tony's hurt. He's not sure how bad. He's mad at Izzy. He's mad at Spears for all of this. And then the camera pulls out, and there's nobody at the table with him, and apparently he's talking to camera, which would have been great had he been looking at the camera during the promo. Because through the whole promo, he's looking to the sides like he's talking to people. I thought he was talking to Rizzo and Luca.
Yeah.
Oh, Stax. Oh, Stax. Oh, Stax. It appears like we're going to be getting Stax versus Spears on our way to Roadblock, where we're going to get Tony versus Spears.
Probably.
Fine. I guess. Okay. Sure.
Sure.
Like, what the fuck do I talk about? Like, what is there to talk about with this? Like, he was talking to nobody. Literally nobody. He's talking to the camera.
Awkward.
Yeah.
Very.
We then get the strap match. Eddy Thorpe versus Trick Williams. I thought this match was fantastic. I thought this was great. They bring up that Eddy Thorpe's been using the underground in the strap matches, and he wants to make the strap match his match. And I'm like, all right, cool. That's not bad, because they don't use the strap match every time Eddy Thorpe needs to settle something. So it's not Lola Vice bad.
That's
But
all I could think about.
But like at the same time, this is the only, like, between this and Underground, that's the only specialty matches that he really does.
Mhm.
But if they save it for like a year apart, it's not overdone, as long as they don't keep doing every feud that Eddy does like this. But I think the idea of Eddy Thorpe being like, no, I'm going to make the strap match my match, it's a cool idea, and I like the idea of that gimmick where he's going to... The Undertaker had the casket match. Triple H, at the end of the day, it was more Triple H's match, had Hell in the Cell for a long time. Like, everybody kind of gets this thing that they're either really good at or that's part of who they are. And as long as you keep it sporadic enough, like you don't have 3 casket matches in 1 year, you don't have Lola Vice always finish her feuds inside the NXT Underground, you're fine.
Mm-hmm.
I thought this match told an incredible story. Eddy Thorpe being mad at the fans, literally yelling at the fans throughout the entire match. As the fans chanted, "Whoop that trick," and "Fuck you, Eddy," Eddy Thorpe is giving it back to them the whole time. Eddy Thorpe is a master in this match of how to use the strap to his advantage. Every time the strap was really used to a person's advantage, with the exception of Trick hulking up and whipping Eddy with it, it always seemed to be Eddy Thorpe doing all the cool and interesting things. Wrapping Trick up around the corner post and then whipping Trick like that because he can't get out of it. And then getting distance and then being able to pull Trick into the turnbuckle again. Like, really cool and interesting stuff. Trick Williams hits the trick shot knee. Eddy Thorpe rolls to the outside. Trick tries to drag him in with the strap, realizes it's not going to work, goes out to get him. This next minute is the only problem I have in the entire match. The moment Trick rolls him back in, the match falls apart for me. Because the man who just was so dead weight, knocked out cold from the trick shot knee, all of a sudden avoids a second knee, crotches Trick with the strap, hits his own knee, and gets the win. in a span of a minute. I has questions. I has problems. What the fuck was this? The only good thing about this is you could have heard a pin drop in that crowd. People were not expecting Eddy Thorpe to win this match. I told you all. Eddy Thorpe versus Oba Femi at Stand and Deliver is probably our men's match at Stand and Deliver.
That's all I can think about after he won. I was like, oh gosh, we're definitely gonna get that, aren't we? It's like I was torn about it because I'm not looking forward to that match, but at the same time, I feel like this is one of Eddie's best performances in that aspect of it because he definitely shined through in this match. I'm like, this is kind of what I wanted to see from him, during the gaps when we didn't have him, to put it like that. That part that you mentioned, though, reminded me so much of the one, I think it was Jada and Lola with the brick, of like she hit Lola with the brick and then Lola got up and still won the match after. It gave me that vibe, basically. But again, it's like I like the shocking part of having Eddie win because especially against somebody as a fan favorite as Trick, because you get that reaction that the one you got tonight that you can, it's hard to replicate it unless you do it with somebody like a Trick that's very loved by the community and by the fans. If it was anybody else, it wouldn't have been the same, and that definitely makes a huge difference there. But I want to see what Eddie would say moving forward to Ava to get into the world title match after this, but I'm not looking forward to it.
The other thing I want to say is this is an interesting booking. So many times when booking goes bad, crowds boo.
Mhm.
We all remember Roman Reigns winning the Royal Rumble in 2015, and they send The Rock out, and they're still booing.
Mhm.
The crowd didn't boo here. They were quiet. They weren't happy. They were like, what the fuck did we just see? But it wasn't like the whole arena booed like they didn't understand what's going on. That's really good playing in NXT's favor. That plays to their favor in the right way. This was a surprise. This was a shock. This makes the fans unhappy, but they're not so unhappy that they're going to shit on Eddy Thorpe, which is good because it means that Eddie's still a viable heel. So while I didn't love the finish the last minute or so, I thought this was a really solid strap match that did a lot of good work for both guys that are involved.
Mm-hmm.
I think Trick looked great, but I think this elevated Eddy to that main event level because we've been talking how he's a mid-carder in the main event feud.
Yeah.
He's now made himself a main eventer. This is what makes you a main event level player. A match like this. Eddy Thorpe is in that discussion now. And let's see what they do going forward. Because they keep talking about how this is for his people. And I still need to have the points drawn between Eddy Thorpe's Native American heritage and how it correlates. I need the thing to make sense. I don't mind playing it up. I think it's a good idea. It's something different, something unique. But they've got to start making it make sense in the terms of a wrestling match.
Yeah, that's true.
Ethan Page versus Javon Evans. I thought this match was great. I know Astrid was doing something else during this, so I'm going to go ahead and, for the most part, I'm going to talk about this match. Astrid, at the end, if you have any thoughts, you can go ahead and talk about it. But I just didn't want to put you on the spot to be like, hey, what'd you think of this? Knowing you were doing something else during.
But I would say right now, before you even start, I don't want to say downfall, but the only thing that I would have done differently about this match, it's what we said in our preview show. I would have made it a lot shorter than what it was. Because even if I not that it was super long or anything like that, but I feel like I wouldn't have made this last like the way it lasted. Because you see Javon's still injured, if you think about it that way. And then Ethan is going after him. This match should have lasted more than 5 minutes. Because I feel like at this point, when you see Javon fighting back the way he was towards Ethan, then you're like, wait, were you really injured to begin with? It gives you those kind of questions when you're, and I'm like, I got that's not 100% should have been there for that long, if that makes sense. I feel like that's the only like major thing that I could point out from this match. I did like the fact that we had Ethan bleeding this time around though, and that there was more like aggressiveness in that aspect of it. And I like that even though he had already injured him in his jaw, he's like, I'm gonna pick a different body part this time around and focus on it. Like after he hit his leg with the steel steps and just focusing on that like throughout the whole match. He's like, I targeted one part, but I'm going for another one now. Um, but yeah, I feel like even Ethan winning was definitely the right call in this match with the way everything's going moving forward. What I would have done is make the match a little bit more shorter than what it was, and at the end now, with Ethan winning, have Javon disappear for a month or two and not come back into a little bit later so that way he gets a bigger reaction when he does return.
I liked the fact that so we did talk, and I had said if this match goes over 5 minutes, I think it's a mistake. The one thing I'll say about that is I was fine with the length of the match because of the fact that they told the different story. It wasn't Ethan targeting the body part that was already hurt. Because if that was the case, the match needed to be short and sweet.
Mm-hmm.
With the fact that they told a story where he was working the leg, I think that's a slightly different thing. And I think you can extend the match out. Ethan did take advantage, like Corey said. He came in with a game plan to hit Javon in the mouth. However, another opportunity presented himself, and like a true veteran, like a true asshole, Ethan Page was like, oh, look, broke a hurty foot. I'm going to play with this. I also want to say that I commend Javon Evans for the change in style for this particular match. So many times somebody gets injured. They have this, I'm going to come get this guy. And they don't change their in-ring style to match the temperament that they're giving in this match. Javon didn't. Javon wasn't the bouncy one in this. One, he couldn't be because Ethan kept targeting the leg. But two, so much of this was Javon angry and really being a more physical, dominant competitor, trying to injure Ethan the same way he was injured. And he even did at one point jump on Ethan's jaw, like full 1 foot right down on Ethan's face. Love this match. Love what they did to it. The fact that they told a different story that I wasn't expecting was interesting. Because at least if they're going to make me spend 8 to 9 minutes watching Javon Evans versus Ethan Page, the one time Javon gets hit in the mouth, that's it, that's all, end of match. That was a perfect way to do that, because we spend the whole match with Ethan working the leg and doing what Ethan does, letting Javon kind of get in and get out of the match. But as soon as Ethan gets that one real good opportunity to pop him in the mouth, no comeback for Javon. Javon's down. He hits the twisted smile, the twisted grin, or whatever the fuck they call the twist of fate for Ethan Page. And he gets the 1, 2, 3. I thought this was a very well-told story that changed what I was expecting to see into something interesting and still gave me the outcome I wanted. Javon's re-injured. Ethan did it. It only took one real good shot to the jaw. They did all the things they needed to do, along with giving us an 8 to 10 minute match that was really actually kind of interesting throughout the whole way, even if it wasn't the 5 minute squash that I kind of wanted. So at the end of the day, I think they really hit their mark with this match. I was very excited for afterwards. I was very excited to talk about this because Ethan's so good at being the bad guy. And he took the opportunity to really let Javon get character work in, which is the one thing we keep saying that we're missing from Javon. He's bouncy, he's fun, he's interesting, but there's no depth of character to him. In this match, we got depth of character, and we can see that there's another side of him, this evil, angry side that can change the bouncy dude into a fighter. And there's a little bit of interest there that I'm like, all right, this Javon there might be more to this Javon Evans than we thought. And that's always good. I want more depth in my professional wrestlers. Not every wrestler can be The Undertaker and essentially be the same dude for 27, 28, 30, 40 years. You know, everybody changes in a... We hate him and we don't like to bring him up. But Chris Jericho. The reason why Chris Jericho is wrestling-wise at the top of the Mount Rushmore for so many people is because Chris Jericho adapts and changes. We don't always like what he adapts and changes into. But Chris Jericho is always changing and adapting. His in-ring style, the character he plays, he's constantly doing something different every time he comes back. And that's what I hope we get from Javon from here on out. And yes, I don't want to see Javon again until just before Stand and Deliver. Because I think Ethan Page versus Javon Evans is on the Stand and Deliver card. I think it's no holds barred, last man standing. And I think that it should be a lights out match or an unsanctioned match. However, whichever terminology you want to use for this. It needs to be a fight without honor if you want. Like there's 1,000 names for what this match is. But it needs to be a referee literally there to count 1, 2, 3 and nothing else. But I'm still interested in the story because they did a good job telling it.
I think also, thinking about the aspect that you mentioned about Ethan bringing another side of Javon here, I think that this is also a reason why you bring people in like an Ethan and a Ricky Starks who are a little bit more established and have a little bit more experience than most of the roster, because they're able to bring out something different out of the people here. And you can see that with Javon and Ethan. And it's like, not everybody can bring that out of Javon, but Ethan's definitely one of those people that can do that. And that's why you always have these people that are more either veterans or have a little bit more experience than the rest of the roster. And I feel like that fits very well with this one tonight.
Yeah. We get a promo with Stephanie Vaquer backstage. She says she's excited to be the champion, but she's not leaving just yet. She wants to watch the main event. In here, we also got a Ricky Starks promo that I believe is the exact same thing we saw on social media earlier, where he cuts another promo with a whole lot of absolutes, but no Ricky Starks anywhere in there.
And I think he's signing his contract on Tuesday is what he mentioned.
He did say he is signing his NXT contract Tuesday night. So we'll for sure get an answer Tuesday. My guess is Ricky Starks got released out of his contract Monday. Monday at midnight and rolling into Tuesday, the contract expires. He makes a phone call to Shawn Michaels or to Cody Rhodes being like, hey, my contract's up. What do you want to do? Shawn says, show up on Tuesday, cut a promo in the crowd, don't say Ricky Starks. Kind of like CM Punk. This is my own little personal idea. Like the CM Punk thing where they're like, look, we have a deal in place. We know we want you. We know you want to be here. We can finagle on the exacts later. Just come, do some stuff. Let us get all the contract stuff done over the next week. And then on Tuesday, you can come and we can have a definitive answer as to who you are, what you are, and who you're going to be. Because they don't want him to be anything different than what he already is. So I don't think we're getting a name change. And I think it's just make sure that he owns the name and that they don't own the name. And I think that's the easiest thing, is that they wanted to make sure they had time to do their due diligence to make sure that that's not a name that can get them in trouble.
Yeah, that's true. I was thinking all the same thing of like maybe with the timing they didn't have anything 100% done, and that's why they just like let's not talk about it for the moment. But the moment when he does mention, is going to get a big reaction from the crowd because it is that big moment now that he finally says his name out loud, because we haven't heard it yet. But I hope it definitely don't have a name change. I think the only thing that will be maybe a little bit different is they went maybe with the Absolute One Ricky or the Absolute One Ricky Starks instead of just Ricky Starks to make it a little bit different. But I'm just hoping that that's the only change.
Yeah, I think we're going to get more of the Absolute as part of who he is, which again is fine because he's happy with that and he's been doing that forever. Also, I cannot continue. I've watched this debut from him about 100 times. It reminds me so much of Scott Hall's debut in WCW. When his contract in with the WWE and he's in the crowd in the middle of a match and he goes, "You know who I am, but you don't know why I'm here." And remember, the first words out of Ricky Starks' mouth are, "You know who I am," as the crowd's chanting Ricky Starks.
Yeah.
And that's I just it's a fun little play off that NWO style invasion thing. Ricky Starks to be here, but again, we didn't get the official name Ricky Starks yet. We're still on Ricky Starks watch. We'll have answers on Tuesday. Make sure to check back then. No. We don't. I'm not saying he does the whole thing. I'm just saying it's nice homage. No. We're not pairing Ricky Starks with other people. We're not pairing Ricky Starks with other people. No. Leave Ricky alone. Let Ricky do his own thing. We don't need a group with Ricky. Although, imagine Ricky Starks, Miro, and Malachi Black in a group. Oh, that'd be fun. All right, we move on to Femi versus Grayson Waller versus Austin Theory. Ash, did you get a chance to watch all of this, or do
I think pretty much,
okay.
yeah.
All right. The first thing I want to mention about this, and I'm going to let Ashford talk, I promise, because I've been doing a lot of talking. I love, during the intro, Austin Theory's getting his own music. He's like kind of sort of getting ready to go into the ring. And then Grayson Waller's music hits and he comes. That set the tone perfectly. I loved it. I love so much about this match.
I couldn't hear it, but I could tell I like that even with me because I was recording something. I was watching it on mute, but even not be able to listen to it by the facial expressions, I can already tell that there was a pause in there for their entrance music here. And even without listening to it, I can tell something happened here. And it's one of the first few times you get them having different, separate entrances too. So that already gave you like an intro to what the match is going to be like.
Yeah, okay. I get to talk more about this match now. Awesome, great. So there's so much I love about this match. We've heavily criticized and loved triple threat matches. We know the Ogre Lord hates triple threat matches. We prefer our triple threat matches to be three guys kind of in and out, all intertwining into doing a lot of interesting stuff. I like that this was slightly different because it's essentially a tag team, especially a handicap match in a triple threat match. Yeah. I love that throughout this match, Theory and Grayson are constantly working together, but always have one eye on each other just to make sure shenanigans don't happen. I will also say that Grayson Waller took every single bad bump you could take in this match. The backdrop on the announce table towards the end. He took the backbreaker spot onto the steel chair. He's the one that does the dive, the elbow dive through the table on top of Femi. Yeah. Every bad spot this match, Grayson took the spot where he does the DDT to Femi on the steel steps. Every time. Every bad spot. Austin Theory took none of them. None of them. Every single one of them was Grayson Waller. I love how Theory constantly made sure to look out for Grayson Waller. Yes, Austin Theory was the one who got the opportunities to get the pins, but for himself. However, it was never really in a position where he took advantage of Grayson being down. With the exception of the spot at the table when Grayson does the elbow drop through the table through Oba, that tag team thing they had set up there. Austin Theory always just happened to be in the ring while Femi was down, without it really being that he's taking advantage of work that Grayson did. I love the spot where they start pushing each other. I thought that was great. And then the epitome, the piece de resistance, Waller standing there in pulling the referee out after Austin Theory somehow, some way got that big beefy bastard on his shoulders and hit Ataxia. I'm not calling it A-Town Down Under. I refuse. I have watched Austin Theory since Evolve. This is Ataxia, and I won't call it anything else. I couldn't believe he actually hit that shit on Obafemi. Because Oba's a big dude. And Austin Theory's a strong guy, but it's an F5 with a knee. I don't know if anybody...
Yeah.
So often we don't get to see Austin Theory do what Austin Theory can do.
Yeah.
So, like, there's so much to this guy in ring that we don't get to see. I thought it was great that he got the spotlight here. But, of course, Grayson pulls the referee out. These two get into a shouting match. Oba takes advantage. He's about to hit the Fall of Grace on Austin Theory. And his Nigerian Thanos spidey senses started tingling, and he moves out of the way as Grayson Waller does the roll through the ropes and hits this rolling stunner onto Austin Theory, so that Grayson Waller ends up taking the fall from Grace. 1, 2, 3. I thought this was way more interesting than I thought it had any right to be, with how obvious this was going to be. We'll talk about the post-match after we have Astrid give her thoughts. This was my match of the night, believe it or not. I thought this was great. I loved every single moment of this match. I was in heaven.
I think my favorite part about just like the match as a whole is just the fact that the interaction between Austin and Grayson going against each other were very, very short. They barely lasted as they happened. And I'm glad to see that happening, just because I feel like we still get a little bit of that friction between them that is still gonna blow up a little bit later. I'm glad that every time you think you get that moment between both of them, something happens and it gets ruined, and you don't get a lot of them fighting against each other. It was very short-lived during that match. And I was pointing out the same things, like the bumps that Grayson did during this match, especially the commentary table, the table. I couldn't believe everything that I was watching. I did like the fact at the beginning, if I'm not mistaken, at one point, Grayson is blocking Obafemi from taking on Theory. And I kind of feels like a little bit of what I mentioned in the preview. Like, I knew they were gonna kind of team up against him and kind of take him down for a moment. But then when they're going to face each other, it's like Oba doesn't need a lot of time, and he still gets up not too long after and goes after them. So it's very short lived when you get those moments between them. And I feel like one of the biggest ones when they argue, and even he takes advantage of that later on. So again, I feel like it was still a fun match. I like the storytelling that we get, two storylines out of this, because we get the one from the team, but also then teaming up against Oba at the same time to get the goal here. And like you said, that ending, this is one of the moments that I enjoyed a lot from NXT. Those moments that are like very like picture perfect timing here, because it would have been different if somebody was slightly off. It wouldn't have been the same, and it wouldn't have pulled off the way that this ending happened. And having Grayson take that fall from Grace, I feel like it definitely made sense the way everything came up. The sequence here, the timing was just great. Overall, I enjoyed it. I had fun with it, and again, it's like no surprise we see Obafemi retaining. We knew this was going to happen either way, and this is why they had to be a triple threat.
Then we get the strangest part of the night. We get the four dudes outside in the crowd with spotlights. And then the lights go out again, and they all rush the ring, and they all beat down Obafemi. Why? None of these guys. You could put all four of them together, and they're not going to beat Obafemi. Yeah. So why the fuck are they down here?
Yeah, it made
this
no sense
was
to
the
me
most.
either.
This was the most baffling portion of the night. I was down when they were part of the tag team thing. I'm like, that makes sense. That's exactly where these four guys belong. Let's leave them there.
I feel like I'm not saying that this is what's happening. I'm just saying it would have been differently, though, if they had given us kind of like a preview that there's somebody behind the group, that's somebody bigger, and he's using the group as like his muscle kind of thing. I feel like that would have made a little bit of a difference, just because you're thinking, oh, there's somebody bigger than them, and they're gonna target Oba, and that's why they're putting down the group to like weaken Oba. So that would have made sense to me if you had seen something like that beforehand, weeks ahead. But then just seeing the 4 people, and then I think about it from like the viewers that are there live. First, you have the 4 people. People don't know them, and as you don't know them, none of these people are established enough to be in the main event scene at the moment. If it had been somebody, let's say for example, like an Ethan Page that it's already in the main event scene, it would have they said, "Oh, these are the people that I contracted to get to take down Oba and make him weaker." Then you would have been like, "Oh, it makes sense because Ethan is in the main event scene." So that would have been your connection. But if you have nobody bigger than them behind them, then it just at the same time you're like, first, who are you? And second, why are you in the main event scene? So I feel like it would have made a little bit of a difference if you had either somebody bigger than them behind them, or if you would have either established the team a little bit earlier, and by the time the Vengeance Day comes up, one of them is established enough to be in the main event scene. So that would have made sense too. But I feel like the timing with this group didn't make sense to me at all here.
Yeah, it's just a little awkward. There's no other word to use other than awkward. It doesn't make sense. There's no real rationale or reason why. And it just sort of happened. And it's like, all right, we move on. We then get our fun moment of the night. Ava's backstage doing her thing. She's talking about 2 weeks from now in Cincinnati. Did you know that Lexus King is from Cincinnati?
Oh,
Because
really?
apparently he texted Ava 23 times to let her know that he's from Cincinnati and wants to be on that show. So I guess we can next see Lexus King defend his Heritage Cup in Cincinnati in 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Then we get the return, the NXT return of the NXT liaison to TNA. Ariana Grace is back. I was so happy to see her. And she didn't come alone. She brought the director of authority, Santino.
There you go.
And the best part is Ava looks at him after she's done because she's like, "Oh, yeah, Ava said, Ariana said that you had some thoughts, you had some ideas. Let's go ahead and talk." I think Roadblock might potentially be TNA versus WWE Roadblock.
Yes. Worlds
It could be.
collide.
And then as they're getting ready to leave, Ava looks at the two of them and she's like, "Never mind." I love the fact that NXT will never tell people who's kids of
Related.
whose.
Yeah.
We didn't do it with Ava and Rocky. We didn't do it with We've never the television has never told us that Charlie and William Regal are related, even though the fans chanted, "Who's your daddy?" And then we have Santino and Ariana here.
Yep.
I think it was great. I love it. I can't wait to see who's going to pop up, especially knowing that TNA is going to be in full sale for the next few days, if I remember correctly, right?
Yeah, Thursday and Friday.
Yeah, I was going to say Thursday, Friday. So that means we could see some of them this Tuesday. And more importantly, after they leave on Friday, a few of them might travel to Cincinnati with the WWE team. Because if we're doing a live show in Cincinnati, it might be some fun to have some of those TNA, because we know that they're not booked because they've just done their things Thursday, Friday. So it gives them plenty of time to get into Cincinnati for Tuesday. Just saying. We then get to our main event of the evening. The women are back again, bookending the show as Jose told us earlier. Women's Championship action here. Giulia retains, pinning Roxanne Perez, and also defeating Bayley and Cora Jade. Astrid is both happy and sad. What did you think of the women's main event?
It was a lot of fun, actually. I really enjoyed it. It's bittersweet because I keep getting that feeling that it's Roxanne's last match, so I didn't want her to get pinned, but at the same time, if she's the one leaving, it makes sense as well. I think it was fun having the little stories that we had here because we had moments that I think towards the beginning that Giulia kind of did like a double pin to Cora and Roxanne at the same time there. And then also the part that Roxanne and Bayley do the dive at the same time, but then they start hitting each other right after they land. But at least like I like how they do it. Just like the timing was really great for that one. And then we get that moment of Roxanne versus Cora that we usually don't get anyway. And I like how this happened throughout the match, and it just didn't end at that moment there. And then we have then doing the super kick to Giulia and Bayley at the same time. And again, you see that how they go against each other, but they also fit together as a team there too. And there's at one point that Cora is towards the top rope, and when she's like leaning over, she looks over. Roxanne's right there. She's like, "Hi." She's like, "Yeah, yeah, I'm gonna take you down anyway." Um, and there was a moment too that Bayley just gave Roxanne a beautiful just knee that I just love to watch in the sequence that she had there, and like as we call it, the Tower of Doom that happened there as well. There was at one moment though that the chorus pin was so freaking close. I was so freaking scared when that happened. But again, I'm glad that Giulia retained, and I'm glad I got that moment that I wanted of Giulia and Stephanie with both of their championships to end the show.
Well, I mean, we did get this moment with the bug in the corner and everybody here, but that wasn't the end of the show, though, was it?
Yeah.
Because the sirens blare and Jordynne Grace is in NXT. She's here.
It's like,
Oh boy. I love this match. I thought it was fantastic. Cora Jade came out of this looking like a bit of a star.
mm-hmm.
Like, again, I know she's not this good, but like with this group of women, she looked great. She didn't miss a spot. She was always in the right position. She got a lot of great moments for herself. I thought this was fantastic. I thought this was a bunch of fun. And then to end it with Stephanie coming out. And there's a moment where they're both holding up their titles. And Stephanie stops looking at Giulia and just tilts her head ever so slightly to look directly at the NXT Women's Championship before Jordynne Grace comes out. Who do you think Jordynne Grace is going after? Is she going straight to the top and it's Jordynne Grace versus Giulia? Or do you think it's Jordynne Grace versus Stephanie Vaquer for the North American Women's Championship?
As much as it's gonna pay me a little bit to say it, I feel like it will make sense to have her go against Stephanie first, and then if Stephanie does lose the championship to Jordynne, then Stephanie will go on to face Giulia. And it's like that again would scream like a stand and deliver match for me as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if that were to happen.
Yeah, we have Logan coming in saying my theory is that Jordynne will beat Stephanie for the NXT Women's Championship. All right. WWE's done this in the past, and they haven't done it for a long time. Back in the day, WWE did a match with 2 champions and 2 falls. It was a 2 out of 3 falls match. The first fall was for I believe it was the Intercontinental Championship. And then the second fall, I believe, was for like the European Championship. I'd love it if the women's main event of Stand and Deliver is Stephanie versus Jordynne versus Giulia. The winner of the first fall takes the North American Women's Championship, and the winner of the second fall takes the NXT Women's Championship. And it could be the same person both times. I think it adds a bit of intrigue. I think it adds a bit of deception, and it gives the idea of a potential double champion without having to tie up both divisions in it. I think earlier in the night, you could have a number 1 contenders ladder match for the Women's North American Championship, where you put Jada, Sol Ruka, Zarya, Carmen Petrovic, Kalani Jordan, and Jacy Jayne in that match, and you have like the 6-woman ladder match to crown a number one contender coming out of this. And you can figure out how to switch up the championships however you decide. If Giulia is going to the main roster, then you can put Stephanie. You can have Stephanie win the first fall and have Jordan win the second. Like, I think that there's a fun little intrigue to something like that. Something interesting, something different. Whole lot of fun to be had. All we know is that Jordynne Grace also cut a promo leaving the ring to the NXT cameras. See you Tuesday. It may not be Von Wagner come Tuesday, but she'll be here Tuesday, so will we. So, confirmed for Tuesday night. Ricky Starks, or whatever his name is, the absolute one, will be signing his NXT contract, and Jordynne Grace will appear in an NXT ring for the first time as an NXT superstar, not for 4 seconds at the end of a pay-per-view. Overall, for a pretty predictable show, there were a few surprises, there were a few fun things, and every match kind of did what it needed to do. None of the matches let you down. Some of the promos weren't so great. Some of the booking decisions afterwards weren't so great. But the matches themselves, the 6 matches, did exactly what they needed to do and gave us a fun night of wrestling in just over 2.5 hours. God, I love NXT. And this women's division is still... Think about this. You can take Fallon Henley, Cora Jade, Roxanne Perez, and Giulia from this women's division after Stand and Deliver and still have an absolutely loaded women's division. That's still better than any other women's division in all of professional wrestling in North America. Again, I will constantly, because of my friends from Japanese Wrestling Update, continue to say in North America because Stardom still exists. This was a fun show. Astrid, tell the good people where they can find you this week.
Like I mentioned, this week we're taking a week off of WCW before we start season 2 of the Mania Classic. So not this week, but the week after we'll start with season 2. Again, Tuesday with you doing Taking Over, we'll talk about what is after Jordan's being there and Ricky Starks being there. And then Friday for Making an Impact as well. We're definitely back to watch everything unfold now. So it's definitely a lot for another exciting week of wrestling. For me, you can find me on my Twitter and Blue Skies, Astrid Pizarro, and my Instagram and Threads, Astrid Pizarro 20. And if you're on my YouTube channel, please hit the subscribe button and hit the like button on the video as well. On the road, almost there to 300 subs, so we'll make that happen pretty soon, I hope.
Yeah, you're at 292 last I knew this morning, so you're getting there. Of course, you can find me on Twitter and Blue Skies at EdFries12584. You can find me on the Twitch at twitch.tv/EdFries2002, where I will simulcast all my wonderful Marvel Talk stuff over there. You can also find me tomorrow with Peggy, Ophelia Payne, and Andre C. as we talk all things Captain America, Brave New World. We have thoughts, we have opinions on a very divisive movie that have people talking. Also, if you haven't checked it out, I know the show's already happened. If you haven't checked it out, please go check out our preview show. We were joined by the wonderful Mr. Santi Zap. We cannot thank him enough for showing up. We're going to go ahead and throw up his information right here. Go ahead and check him out at Mr. Santi Zap on pretty much everything, or linktree.com/Mr. Santi Zap. That includes the Patreon for Wrestling is Cool, Facebook, Instagram, all that, linktr.ee/Santi Zap. He was fantastic. It was great to work with him. Go give that preview show a watch. If you want to go ahead and watch him during any of his watch-alongs, to go ahead and see what the next viral moment WWE is going to pull from his footage is, you can go ahead and do that there. This has been an exciting show. I'm glad that we were here to cover this. Thank you to everybody for watching, and we will catch you next time. Remember, we'll be back here Tuesday night, just a couple days away. We'll be back Tuesday night to go ahead and talk about this. Until then, goodbye.
I am in misery.